Big fellows like this are entering difficult harbors all around the world every day. The lighthouse you see appearing around the stern now is at Major's Beach at the entrance to Halifax Harbour. If a container ship is held up by poor visibility or other bad conditions, it's going to cost the owner something like $25,000 a day. If she makes a run at it anyway and something goes wrong, the human and environmental costs could be far more. There she goes, heading north up harbour towards George's Island and the Narrows. It was in the Narrows that the Mont Blanc met the Emo in 1917, and the explosion of her ammunition cargo killed and injured 11,000 people. Here's what the mariner uses today for navigating safely. First of all, the chart, and then visual bearings and ranges when he's close to the shore like this, and Loran, and of course radar. For decades, people have tried to superimpose radar on the chart by optical methods, but without success. Now, with the recent developments in computers, there's a much better way. And here it is, the electronic chart. We think that this concept is important enough that we're beginning right now to test it out. And here's the Maxwell leaving the wharf at BIO one day late in October 1985 for the first trial of the electronic chart testbed. Now, the reason the Hydrographic Service is getting involved in the electronic chart is that it'll require from us a product that's radically different from the paper chart we're familiar with. We now have to work out the entire process of getting digital data from our surveys into the digital memories of a worldwide family of electronic charts. And once it's there, of updating it by electronic notices to mariners. We need to start right now, as it takes a long time to build up a validated digital database. And so we've contracted Universal Systems Limited of Fredericton to mechanize the interactive editor display from their computer-assisted chart production system, to drive the chart by Lorenzi positioning, and to superimpose radar. And this is giving us a test bed which we can use to try out ideas of how our electronic chart database should be put together. This video has been recorded for the technical analysis of the faults in this first prototype of the electronic chart. It's in no way a polished movie. In fact, it deliberately emphasizes problems in the prototype. And because of the low intensity of the electronic chart display, the full color that was available with the naked eye looks gray in the video. Now here's the paper chart showing George's Island, and on the east side Dartmouth, and we're on the electronic chart now, and on the west side the container wharves at Halifax. And here comes the radar. That guard circle around the ship is settable, and we have it at one cable, and the parallel index bars show the course made good, and that gives us the path that is swept out ahead of the ship. You can barely see a small ship's head bar inside the guard circle. For this test, we had a very simple algorithm to advance the ship every few seconds, based on Loran fixes taken every 2 minutes, and that's why the ship jumps around like a flea now and again. Watch that buoy right due south of the ship, about 1.5 miles at the end of Point Pleasant Park. That's on the chart, and there the radar picked it up. There's some multiple radar side echoes showing up south of the ship. The center ring of them may be caused by the gantries on the container wharf. However, notice that it's a very calm day, so we've got no trouble from wave clutter. Now let's get moving up harbor. you can just barely see the ship's head bar showing the ship heading up harbour, while a faulty Loran filter has the course made good scaring everybody. Note that radar shadow of George's Island on the east side of the harbour, northeast of the ship. This electronic chart is going to make a very good radar trainer. That big echo beam to starboard is a semi-submersible oil rig. But on a day like this, we were also able to pick up 30-foot fishing boats. With limited computer power, it's taking 20 seconds to digitize the radar picture and transmit it to the electronic chart. We have a small problem with the software that dead reckons the radar to account for this. And so you'll notice an along-track radar echo. We always tend to carry the radar along with us by about a couple of 100 meters or so. You can see the bridge there well ahead of where the real bridge is. The chart says we're actually about to go under the first bridge. Now let's skip on up to the Narrows after a short look here. We've been on 1 to 20,000 scale to show some look ahead, but now we go to 1 to 10,000 for going through the Narrows in a minute. Now that we've changed scale, you can see that ship's head bar clearly, and you can see how the mariner can pretty well steer himself around the corner. I think it's no wonder that mariners respond to this thing. It's going to be a fantastic display for ship handling in a tight situation. Once we have this fairly trivial radar dead reckoning error fixed, you can see how the radar can be used to check the ship's positioning by checking that, confirming that it registers with the land. Although in real life the color that we actually had on the display did help to distinguish between the radar and the coastline and the danger contour, we do need some way of bringing the chart features through the radar paint. There's another radar artifact, a ring around the ship just inside the guard circle. You can see we're approaching the Narrows Bridge. Now we'll go to 1 to 20,000 scale to have a look ahead for ships in Bedford Basin. Just before we berth, let's look at the requirement to show a 6-mile look ahead for other ships, and see what happens when we make a scale change to 1 to 80,000 to do that. It's 9 miles from McNabb's Island at the bottom right corner to the head of Bedford Basin, top left. That outline on the right-hand side, about halfway up, is actually an inset from the paper chart that wasn't taken off. Well, the first thing to say is that we knew we had too much detail on the shore. But even so, it looks to me as though we need a new database to cover that times 8 scale change from 1 to 10,000 to 1 to 80,000. That blocky-looking outline of the chart is due to the fact that we only have data where there was a paper chart. We need to fill in with a few angels blowing trumpets around the edge or something. Now let's check the radar fit in Bedford Basin at 1 to 40,000. And have another scan at the small scale. No, we're on 1 to 40,000 now, sorry. That first radar paint is going to come up with a radar for 1 to 80,000. The next radar paint should fit. Here we go. There's a steep bank all along the coastline here, so the radar picks it up well, and we get a good fit. Well, although this isn't exactly an award-winning production, I think even this first test shows we have on our hands a very powerful tool in improving the effectiveness and safety of navigation. Now, hasn't Maxwell got alongside yet? Now, here's a sneak look at 1 to 6,000 illegal blow-up of scale. That's why the radar echo looks so blocky. And here she comes. The eyes of the ship, the radar. Back alongside at the Bedford Institute of Oceanography.